Welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. If you enjoy our content, please like or subscribe.
Welcome to Ellis Talker Candidate Forum. I looking forward to this. We got some really good questions for the candidates. Me and my co-moderator, Mayor Wallace, how you doing, madam?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's give a round of applause for the candidates. The first candidates that I'd like to bring up is for Ellis County Precinct 2 Commissioners. I have Garrett Bailey, Mr. John Deneen, and Matt Sykes. Let's go ahead and say that. I think y'all set this up. Well, yeah, you know, I'm glad you guys came, but we're gonna go ahead and start with the. Go ahead and look at this. We're gonna go ahead and start with the opening statements. For each one, you have for this race, you have a 60-second per candidate opening statement. Everybody's gonna get the equal amount of time during this event.
And I'm gonna go ahead and start to my left with Mr. Garrett Bailey.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Garrett Bailey. I'm running for County Commissioner Precinct 2. Want to talk about my vision for the future, and the ideas that I have is mostly fiscal responsibility and being able to contract negotiations, reduce costs. And so some of you guys may know that in the past months or so, I've been digging into the finances here at Ellis County, and I've discovered that, I don't know if many of y'all guys know, that in the early 2000s, Joe Biden had the American Rescue Plan, and Ellis County accepted $30 million. And with that, I think that there was some concerns that the county is dependent on federal dollars to maintain their budget, and we need to take a look at all that and see how we can prioritize a independent fiscal responsibility. And then,
How's everybody tonight? My name's Matt
Sykes. I'm from Ennis, born and raised there. My beautiful wife is out here in the crowd, Haven. Her and my son are really the reason that I'm doing this. I was born and raised in Ennis, lifelong resident of Ellis County. I started my college career at Tarleton. I finished up at the University of Oklahoma, and then came home and started interviewing for jobs, and decided I had always wanted to farm and ranch for a living, and decided to do that instead of taking a job somewhere. I began farming and ranching as a first-generation farmer, and it's tough. It's really tough. But it's been a great road. It's, great to have the support of my community behind me. I think a couple of things that I really want to focus on in my campaign and throughout my time in Ellis County politics is, controlling spending and slowing it as much as we can. Time that you look at politics, it always goes back to spending, and that affects the taxpayer directly. We'll talk more about this during the forum, but we have a stray problem in Ellis County, and I think we have a transparency problem in Ellis County with our elected officials, and I think those are the big things that I'm really going to hit home.
My name is John Paul Deneen. I'm born and raised here in Ellis County. I have a wife of 26 years, Heather. We've got 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. I've been farming here for a living for 32 years. I have always lived, worked, and invested in Ellis, invest with the local folks. I've had a small business selling our beef directly to the consumer for 11 years. I, for 18 years, have represented small farm and ranch families locally on the state level, and the national level and international. I have a love for Ellis County, and I am serving hard.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and start off the question with you, Mr. Deneen.
Yes, sir.
So the first question is, Ellis County continues to grow along I-35 and around Waxahachie, Midlothian, and Redwood. What are your concerns with growth, and one thing that you would like to see to address it? You have 2 minutes.
Well, having lived my life here, I have seen the ebbs and flows of growth from the 80s, the 90s, the O's, and currently. And the growth is a direct response of folks' basic property right of selling and buying land at whatever price those who choose. So I think what we do is we try to oversee that as best that we can, with guidelines, because we never want to restrict somebody's basic right of buying or selling land as they choose. I think that as we look at and address issues, we try to use a little bit of foresight. When you farm, you're not only raising the crop that you're doing right now, you're thinking about the next crop coming after. And I think with your issues, you address whatever those issues are, but you try to take enough pause to look down the road a little bit, how, if it's financially able, to do something that sets you up for that growth so that you're ready. And they're not always going back, oh, I wish I'd have done this there, and now we're having to kind of redo.
I mean, that's definitely good growth.
Okay, next candidate for the next question. Property owners feel tax pressure even when rates decrease or cut. How would you balance these concerns with the need to provide services?
I think that's a great question. And as a taxpaying citizen, just like the rest of us sitting here, I feel pressure. I did. Taxes they're high. And they're high because we've got a lot to pay for. We've got a lot of growth in Ellis County. But I think that we can really affect those changes in our county government through things like slowing the growth and finding other ways to produce revenue for our county outside of the taxpayer's pocketbook. I mean, at the end of the day, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So we can create revenue in other places. Like, I've thought about things like a mental health facility that I think has been tossed around by different people before. If we can create something like that where we can sell beds to surrounding counties and serve our own needs to create revenue that way, I think that's one example of a way that we can bring revenue in outside of raising taxes on the taxpayer. Outside of that, I think anytime you start talking about taxes, you have to start talking about cutting government spending. Government can't spend like we're in Congress. Look, American families across the nation, and even in Ellis County especially, are having to tighten their belts. There's no reason that government shouldn't have to tighten their belts too. If our citizens are hurting, then government should tighten it up a little bit. Thank you.
County roads and drainage are being strained with all this growth. What can a county do better to address this issue?
So the number one thing the county needs to do is make sure that we have a surplus to be ready to flux with the growth. Not having a surplus means that we're not doing our jobs properly. We're causing burden to our citizens, financially impacting their way of life. So that's where, if we can focus on reducing the cost of across the board what we're doing, my financial background from JP Morgan, procurement policies is something that I want to take a real hard look at. I want to make sure that we're maximizing every single opportunity when we're purchasing items, where we're purchasing it from. I'm also a strong advocate of purchasing things here in Texas. Just like in Arlington, the Chevrolets are built there. We should be driving Chevrolets on every single government vehicle we have. Those are the things that I would want to focus on, because if we don't have that surplus and next year our forecast for what we're having increases by 10%, we're playing catch up, and it's going to cause a dramatic downstream effect on everything beyond the sewer systems and ditches and things like that.
Next question. MUDs and PIDs are increasingly used to finance development in Ellis County. What are your thoughts on them, and what would you like to see done?
Well, that's a wonderful question, because unlike my two opponents, I've actually lived in an area like that. One of the reasons that I am running for this position is I moved from Denton, and in Denton, my community had a PID, and anyone who may not be familiar with that, during my home buying process, they introduced an additional $1,300 to my property taxes that I was responsible for as a homeowner for the next 10 years. So, cities and counties need to work together to see how we can reduce those costs, work with developers in reducing those costs. But at the end of the day, developers have a direct line in bringing new revenue to our area. So we need to really do our best to partner with them And we also need to make sure that the craftsmanship and workmanship of the things that they're doing is up to standard. We don't want them to leave, do a bad job on the road, and then a couple years later, the county is left to pick it up. So we need to make sure that we're having those good conversations with all those developers, and if we can have PIDs, I know PIDs are better than MUDs. That's the direction we go. But unfortunately, with the growth that we're having, until Austin makes different changes, that's just the beast we've been involved.
Thank you.
Public safety is a core duty of the county. With jail capacity, staffing, response times in mind, where should Ellis County invest more, and what will your position be on law enforcement?
I unequivocally say support our law enforcement. Our public safety in our county is a top priority without a doubt. There is no reason that we should cut in those areas or even consider cutting in those areas. We have to back our law enforcement without a doubt. I think that plays well into what I talked about last was, a mental health facility. I think that you can ease some of the overcrowding in the jail by having that mental health facility, because you pull those folks out the jail and put them in a different facility. And yeah, we're talking about spending money, but as we sit right now, I know the county is considering building a new jail, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So if we can use this as a in-between to push that cost to later, to where we can raise the money to really be in a good position to do that, we can build this facility. And I think if we build it the right way and manage it the right way, we could have the revenues from selling the beds in place to surrounding counties or cities or whatever really help offset the cost of that, if not generate revenue, as I talked about. And I think that's really going to make an impact. It's one thing that could make an impact. And we have to continue to bolster our law enforcement, everything that they need within reason. I mean, we don't need to go spending like we're in Congress here and just write checks to them without a book on the back of it. But, I think definitely support our law enforcement every way that we can, and look into those other avenues instead of just taking on a behemoth of a project like building a new jail.
Mr. Deneen, economic development deals can promise jobs, but create future obligations. Under what circumstances would you vote no, even if a deal is popular?
Oh, if we were giving them a tax abatement, I think there's plenty of incentive for folks to move here as a business, but I don't think we're going to give them tax abatements to come in. We have an ample workforce, smart workforce that would be prime for any business to come.
What principles guide you, and how do you translate to how you would govern if you were elected?
I started my career in California as a 1099 employee, meeting with small business owners, and I saw firsthand the struggles that small business owners make. Sometimes running a one-man operation, sometimes more than that, and through that experience, I learned that I have managed my finances and my expectations in the same way, and it was kind of shocking when I came to JP Morgan that one of the higher up below Jamie Dimon was going around the office and looking in trash cans, and he wanted to make sure that every employee had one cup in their trash can. Like, you cannot use multiple cups. And for a $1 trillion company to have that kind of fiscal restraint says a lot. I'll make a comment. I was touring the Waxahachie police station, and they had these beautiful crystal nameplates on their desks. I mean, probably $30, $40, but that's an expense that taxpayers I don't think should have to burden over their name. I want to reduce costs in every which way possible, and by doing so, that's how we're going to maximize those opportunities to maintain the quality growth that Ellis County needs.
Thank you so much.
Should Ellis County adopt a no new debt posture, with the exception of to emergencies, and if so or not, why or why not?
So as long as the debt can be serviced without raising taxes, I don't see it as being a bad thing. But typically in government, they'll say, this won't raise taxes $1, and then they'll do the project and the taxes go up. So I would say I would advocate for a no new debt policy, except for emergencies that may arise. I know there's things that need to be done in this county. There's projects that need to be worked on, such as the jail, for instance. Before we take on new projects, let's really maintenance and take care of what we have and make sure it's running to the best of the ability we can, and try to make everything more efficient before we say, well, let's just get a new one. So I think I would really focus more in on efficiencies and maintaining what we have instead of taking on new debt to fund new projects.
How will you balance concerns with growth and property rights? Because there's always concern about growth, especially the amount of growth that's happened in this county that you've seen. We were talking about it earlier. How do you balance the two?
Well, it's a delicate balance because the commissioners only allow so much land use authority. That's Austin, the regulates it allows us to have more authority. So we look at it as, from the top down, what with the EPA, TCEQ, and then what are our local building guidelines in there as far as use. As far as private property, just like I want to be able to do what I want on my property. So with my neighbor, I know that always doesn't work out. There's all kind of talk of send your solar panels or additions and things like that. But as a county commissioner, in a lot of ways, you're tied. You do not have authority over what they're going to use that land for, except for those guidelines.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deneen. You guys finished early with your regular questions, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to another question since you got
Extra time. I wanted to ask each of you to answer this. What is the most pressing issue that you see the county having, and what is one thing you'd like to do about it? And I will go ahead and start off with Mr. Baines.
So I moved down here from Denton County, and that was in 17. The development of Collin County, and you see what county embraced growth and what county did not embrace growth. There's a distinct difference between the two. Collin County is far, far better and superior in many ways. Most of their cities are ranked top in the country, the best schools, the best work-life balance. That entire county has done wonderful things, and Denton County is finally starting to catch up. But that was the difference between two counties grabbing that opportunity and growing with it. And so I want to, come to Ellis County and take that opportunity to grow Ellis County in a way that we're not going to be like Denton. And we'll have, we'll have a wonderful community with schools that are good and a good neighborhoods, and still have that small town charm.
What tax increase is likely to occur quietly, and how would you stop it?
That is for Mr. Syke.
You said tax increase quietly. I think it's funny every time I get my tax appraisal in the mail, there's no tax rate on it. I don't know if that's a state thing or an Ellis County thing, but I think that's something that we can fix pretty easy because, we can say the value of something is $5 million, but if the tax rate's 1%, that's not too bad. But when they send you an evaluation on their home and it's, a $200,000 home, and then you get the bill later, you don't have nothing to plan for. You're just blindsided with a bill. So I think that's really probably the largest hidden tax we see, because you don't know what that tax rate is until Commissioner's Court passes it. And I would dare to say they don't pass it before the appraisals go out. And if we can adjust our timing just a little bit on passing the tax rate to help our citizens, I think that'd be a really good thing to do.
John, I'm going to ask you one more question and we'll go into the lightning round. Let's see. How would you like the county to get developers to become more involved on infrastructure and road?
Well, for the developers to get more involved on the infrastructure, which is just the roads, they're not going to have. County commissioners don't control water lines, they don't control sewer lines. We service the roads, but we have no authority to draw money for them or have them pay the better road or anything like that. So that would be a conversation that we would have to have with our state rep, which currently is Brian Harris. And they would have to give us some authority to say, okay, you're going to add traffic to this road and then widen culverts or something like that, and have some authority to say, just like we do when somebody comes in and they say we want to reopen the county road. We have the engineer go in and say, well, that would cost you this to open that road back up if they're wanting to sell lots on there. But we don't have that authority for housing addition in a development.
Is that a conversation you would take up with the state?
You know, somebody asked me a question similar to that. It is a question I would take. Most importantly, is it a question that my constituents want me to take up? I'm one of the commissioners on there, and so I have no problem, you know, I'm here to serve my precinct, and I'm here to serve Ellis County. And if that is an issue that Ellis County and my precinct is looking for, then that's what I'm here to do, is to take it up for them.
The lightning question, and we're going to start with you, John. What Ellis County decision best reflects limited accountable government that you have seen?
It's not a decision, but it's the way that the system works with county commissioners. No, like I said in the previous answer, no one commissioner has rule to do anything. It takes the court's decision. I think that would be the best way that it limits it, is it takes majority rule. You can't just lone ranger it and do what you want to.
I think I really have to play off of what John Paul said. It is just how really the system is set up, and how, you know, as a elected official, I think over time, you know, the new guy on the block, probably not so much, but you learn how to kind of circumvent the system and use the back roads, if you will, to make things happen that, you know, don't have a lot of oversight over them. And I think maybe if we can shut some of those loopholes down to where everything has to be out in the public, transparent to the constituents and the court, I think that'd be a good way to circumvent it.
Thank you, sir. Ellis County decision best reflects limited accountable government. What does that look like in your life?
I think the simple answer is our first responders, funding them. I think that's very limited government. You know, we have to have it, and funding them is very important. So that would be my answer to that. That's the best example for that.
Thank you.
Now we'll go into closing statement. You have 60 seconds to go ahead and give your closing statement. We will start with Mr. Deneen.
I want to thank y'all for being here this evening and letting me share a little bit with you. You know, like I had said a little earlier, I have a servant's heart and I love Ellis County. And I'm here to do what the constituents that would potentially elect and put me in there to serve what they would like to do. I have always operated as a two-way street. I've always felt it was important that when you're making decisions or something like that, to go back to the people and the constituents and have conversations and say, now this is why I had to do what I did. And, you know, I think information for them is important, for them to understand the hows and the whys of why you did what you did.
Any seconds?
Anyways, I would appreciate your support, and I look forward to
I would say, for my closing statement, I'm sitting here for really just a few really good reasons. One, I'm sitting here because of my faith in God, and this is what He has put on my heart to do. It's something that I didn't just jump into at the last minute because, boy, that seems like a good job, or that seems like it'll be a lot of fun, or something like that. It's something that I prayed about for months before I undertook this. The second thing is, I'm sitting here because of you. Everybody sitting in this room. I'm sitting here because the Constitution of the United States starts with we the people. That's all of you. And you need a representative that's gonna think the same way. We the people, that's who I represent. And there will be transparency, without a doubt, 100%, an open board policy. You will affect the decisions that I make, and you will be the reason that I make those decisions.
Thank you, sir.
So, fun fact is, I resigned my position at J.P. Morgan to take on this campaign to become county commissioner full time, and I want to serve the Ellis County residents full-time as well. And I've also taken steps to go ahead and start that process. I've made trips down to Austin and I've met with Brian. You guys might have saw the bill for his work to remove illegals off of the streets from the DMV. That's something that I actually brought up to him. Back in May, the Real ID Act is an act that passed. And so I approached him and said, this is an opportunity for us to get the illegals off the road. And so I said, I've already started fighting for you as well. And with my financial background, I've also drafted the bill to eliminate property taxes. And that's going around the State House is not as well. So I have a skill set that's like no other. I'm going to work harder than anybody else to make sure our citizens are taken care of. And I've already started taking care of everybody in this room.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause for these candidates. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. The Ellis Talker Candidate Forum continues, and now I have the candidates for Ellis County Judge, Mr. Grayson, Mr. Travis Smith, and Mr. Cameron Rayburn with a K. How you doing, gentlemen? Let's get a round of applause for these candidates. Thank you guys again for showing up and taking these questions. I do appreciate y'all. We're going to start with a 60-second per candidate opening statement. And we're going to start off with Mr. Grayson.
Well, good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. DV, thank you for what you do. Always appreciate your podcast and your YouTube stuff. What a way to connect with our community. Thank you for bringing a next level opportunity for us to share. It's great to be here. I am a 3-term elected county commissioner. Matter of fact, it was kind of entertaining watching the 3 of them up here a while ago shuffle around, because I remember what it was like in 2014 and wanting to do the same thing. So good luck to you guys. But 3 terms as your Precinct 2 commissioner, I feel compelled to continue to bring my resources, to bring my knowledge and my opportunity to serve at the county level. It's been fun. I promise you, I only want to work and be elected for you as long as it's fun. The day that it does not become fun anymore, I will remove myself. But it's an honor to serve here. I have 4 wonderful kids, married to my wife, Brooke, for 31 years. And it's been fun serving and living and being a part of the community here. And I want to thank all of the candidates in the room, because there's nothing harder to do than put your name on a ballot and let somebody beat the tar out of you just to ask to get their vote. So thank you for letting me be here tonight.
To Mayor Wallace and TV, thank you both for the opportunity. I don't love speaking in public, so I'm glad it's taped, but I do love sharing my passion to serve, which is why I'm here now. We have, over my past, I guess I'm a 3-term elected as well. I haven't found quite the fun that Mr. Grayson has at times, but the knowledge that I've learned, especially when it comes to development and finding a seat at the table with those developers to ensure that while yes, we're going to grow, that we grow
15 seconds.
That we grow with a plan, and that's why I'm here.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you to DV. Thank you to Mayor Wallace. My name is Cameron Rayburn, and I'm incredibly excited to have the opportunity to run, to represent you, and to serve you as your next Ellis County Judge. I currently serve as mayor of the city of Ennis. I'm also a licensed professional engineer. I have worked in the infrastructure and transportation industry for the past decade. I am a graduate of Waxahachie Global High School and also an alumni of the University of Texas at Arlington. I also currently serve you in my 3rd term as on the board of directors for the North Central Texas Council of Government, serving in that regional leadership role. And I'm excited to be able to bring my experience to be able to serve you, serve the citizens of Ellis County, and be able to deliver on conservative values and support having lower property taxes here in Ellis County.
We're going to go ahead and start with you, Mr. Rayburn. The county judge sets the tone for the commissioner's court. What governing principle will guide you if you're elected as judge?
So yes, sir. The county judge's office sets the tone for commissioner's court, but it's very important to understand that the county judge's office is not a dictator of commissioner's court, because you have to be someone who can build consensus. It takes 3 votes in order to pass anything there at commissioner's court. But whenever it comes to values, the guiding principles that will guide me as your next county judge is Christian values and conservative values. Someone who supports having lower property taxes, someone who believes in individual liberties, and someone who believes in having a free market approach to our local economy.
Thank you. Mr. Smith. Property taxes remain a top concern, as he brought up. How will you approach taxes every year?
Yeah, so that's
You have 2 minutes.
that's a question that's not easily addressed in 2 minutes, but I think what's important to understand is that Ellis County has the 24th lowest, or sorry, is the 24th largest county in Texas. No, 20th largest county with the 24th lowest tax rate. And of those below that, or below us, 20 of those are over 500,000 in population, or they're located with a port on the ocean. So they're collecting additional taxes. When you talk about cutting property taxes for our county as it is, you're cutting positions. So the only way to properly address that in the immediate future is to reduce redundant spending and to find the areas inside our budget where we are overspending or misusing what we're already collecting and being prudent with what our taxpayers are currently putting into us.
Thank you, Travis.
Very good. All right, Mr. Grayson, I got the next question. Infrastructure along I-35 and in fast-growing cities is under pressure. What should be Ellis County's top infrastructure priority, and how would you pay for it without raising taxes?
First of all, thank you for helping. I did not acknowledge you on that end of the stage, but thank you for helping. I have the opportunity to sit on the Regional Transportation Council with our North Central Texas COG, and 100% you are right. Our north and south avenues, Interstate 35, Interstate 45, by the way, Interstate 35, its recent increase of $135 million for all the widening. All of our north and south areas are definitely doing well. It's the east and west. So what I've been able to do in my 8 or 9 years on the RTC is to help with those east to west thoroughfares. We've just recently completed Loop 9, east to west, making connectivity between 45 and 35, 1387, 664, all of those east to west. Those are the areas we need to continue to make improvements in, and that will continue to move and relieve more of the pressure off of Interstate 35. Specifically, how we're going to get there, we have no means, no ability at the county level to pay for that. We have to have representation, and I appreciate Cameron taking the time to work on the COG. I get to sit at the COG, and we both take opportunities to pull down millions. He gets to do it in an administrative way. I get to do it in a pointed way, working with TxDOT, developers, and all of those ones. When we come and make those thoroughfares, yank those dollars down, and I've had my hands on millions. The Regional Transportation Council that I've had the opportunity to serve on touches about $15.5 billion a year, and that's in our region. So the way to get there, Mayor,
30
is that we
seconds.
continue. Thank you, DV. The way to get there is continue to be at the table. Cameron's taking time to be at that table. I want to be at that table. We both are aggressive when it comes to finding opportunities to drag those dollars down for us. And the way you get there is you be there. I'm thankful that we have that opportunity, but we have a finite amount of dollars that we're able to provide for us at the county level. We're going to make sure that we use those resources efficiently so that we don't overspend those dollars, because this is not DC. Somebody was talking about DC earlier. Our checkbook goes in the red. We don't want to do that, so we don't have the opportunity to do that. So that's the way we're going to do it. We'll seek out those regional partners, those federal dollars and state dollars to bring those thoroughfares back to people.
During emergencies, the judge holds significant authority. What clear limits should restrain that power to protect liberty and due process?
Well, number one, serving as county judge, yes, you serve as the emergency management director for the county. And uniquely, I have, out of everyone up here, I've had the opportunity to serve as the emergency management director for a local government in my capacity as mayor of the city of Ennis, and have had to do that in a number of times when we've had to deal with catastrophes that have occurred there in the city of Ennis. You have to ensure that you are always operating within the bounds of the law, the scope of the law, and under the Constitution of the United States of America. You also have to keep at heart your conservative values and make sure that you are preserving those individual liberties. Whenever it comes to, say, another pandemic that comes, You have to give the citizens the ability to make choices for themselves. Personally, I don't believe that we need to, as a county judge, instate something such as a mask mandate. I think that we need to give everyone in this room the ability to decide for themselves, am I going to wear a mask or am I not? Am I going to take a vaccination or am I not? Those do not need to be regulations or ordinances that are passed down from your county government.
Thank you.
Law enforcement is a core county function. What specific steps would you take to support the sheriff, jail operations, and first responders as the population increases?
Yeah, I think that's paramount. Public safety should be at the top of everyone's list. I am thankful that the Commissioner's Court finally, after a few years following the comp study, did find a way to raise pay for our sheriff's office to help them be able to actually retain deputies. But outside of that, we have a jail that is routinely at capacities of 500, 550, 600. Then we have to have a hell week to try and clear out space, and that's not efficient. We have to invest in our court systems just as much as the sheriff's office to ensure that we're keeping our community safe and that we're, again, not being redundant with our spending. We have to invest in mental health programs or the rehabilitation programs to ensure that the repeat offenders that we routinely have to pick up and take back to jail, that something is being done to address that. Outside of that, I think we all know what occurred inside our jail just about 13 months ago. The investment has to be made there as well. We have to ensure that we have not just staffing in place, but we have security measures in place inside our current jail, because until we can address that, I don't know how we're going to fund an $800 million brand new jail. And that's about what it's budgeted at now. That's a huge number. So for anyone saying that they want to cut the property taxes and cut this and cut that, how are we going to address public safety? We have to cut redundant spending and reallocate it to keep our community safe.
How will you encourage economic development in Ellis County?
Great question, but I'm sitting on the panel with these guys. These guys do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to economic development. At the county, we don't have an economic development department. We're not in the business of having economic development, but what we do have is a tool to help them. So when businesses come and they come to municipalities, they have an opportunity to bring a good performing business or industry, whatever it is. The county has the ability to come and join in with abatements. And I want to tell you one right off the bat, I am hard on abatements. When I got here, there were abatements that were 20 years long at 100%. Not only did I say no, I said heck no. So at no point was I able to vote for any of those. They were 75-20. And I'm even prouder to say that just a couple of months ago, we even choked it down even harder. Now we're at 50%. So what we're doing with these incentive packages is you're bringing us at least a $50 million project. You're only going to get an abatement for 7 years, and it's only going to be at 50%. So I want to answer that question in two methods. Number one, I am not opposed to having an opportunity to give incentive packages to good performing businesses that come, but I'm also of the same mindset that I better see something up front. I better see some of your will. If you're going to bring this and you're going to bring a good job, a good compensation, a good opportunity for us, and everybody, the elephant in the room are the data centers. Nobody's hiding from those, but those are big ticket items. But at the end of the day, they're not the biggest performers when it comes to employers, but they are doing a good job with compensation. They are doing a good job with competitive pay, and they're bringing a ton of money into this community, and we can't look away from that. But at the same time, I want some of that up front, and I am very proud to have sat on this commissioner's court and reduced that incentive package down to lower than just about any other community in our great state.
What practices in government, Mr. Rayborn, most erode public trust?
What sort of practices most erode public trust?
Yes.
I would say one of the number one practices that will most erode public trust is when you have a lack of transparency in your government. And that is why, as mayor of the city of Ennis, the very first action that I took was I eliminated the briefing sessions, or otherwise known as the meeting before the meeting, which were not live streamed meetings. The next thing that I did was I brought, at that first meeting that we had, I brought live streaming back to the city of Ennis. Meetings were recorded before, but they were never live streamed, because I think that our municipal government as well as our county government have to be as accessible as possible. That's how you prevent erosion of public trust, is with transparency.
How do you slow spending without cutting core services?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all three of my questions have come back to redundancy in spending. I will use road and bridge as the primary example, and I think that is where we can really remove some redundancies in a hurry. We don't need 4 of everything. We don't need 4 backhoes for road and bridge. We don't need 4 rollers. We don't need 4 brand new toys for everything. We can have a centralized road and bridge district. Yes, the commissioners, they still have their input on their precincts, but we have got to begin to move this commissioners court in our county forward. We do not need commissioners who are focused solely on road and bridge. We do not need 4 commissioners with 4 road and bridge foremen trying to figure out our county thoroughfare plan. We need a single engineer who oversees all county road construction. We need to make sure that the right-of-way that we are acquiring or requiring from developers matches with that of the cities when the roads connect, to avoid the bottlenecks. Because if we can do that, and we can start to implement stricter opportunities with Chapter 232 of the Texas Local Government Code,
30 seconds.
We can really address that redundant spending in our road and bridge precincts. We see it at the city level. Just take this. Ellis County, not including salaries, spent $4 million more last fiscal year than the cities of Waxahachie and Midlothian combined, who outsourced their road and bridge constructions and did over 120 miles fewer in roadway.
Thank you.
$4 million more.
Mr. Grayson, what role should the judge play in growth negotiations?
2 minutes.
There is no role in growth negotiations. You was said earlier, we're the 8th fastest growing county in the nation. They're coming. We don't get a role in stopping that, hindering that, impeding that. All we can do is reach out to our development practices, reach out to our density desires, and put in place policies that will keep the standard of living and the quality of living the way we want it to be. It's our city's responsibilities to doing a sewer and water and those things. And what we need to do on the county level is make sure that we're combining and we're across the county looking at city to city to city, ways that we can continue to provide those services. The county doesn't have a dog in that hunt. All we can do on the county level is make sure that we can protect your private property rights. We're going to make sure that density is something that we can handle. Just like Travis said, we don't have the ability to increase spending on county roads. We're minimal. All of those 900, and I'll argue with you later when you want to. We'll meet afterwards. We got $12 million that we're going to spend on county roads, and we've got 900 square miles out here, of which only 25% of our community actually travels on. My point to saying that is that growth is going to be here. All we can do is negotiate standards so that when the folks are here and there's developments that have 800, 900, 20, I think y'all passed a 4,000 unit road that dumps right on out to an FM and then right out onto some county roads.
30 seconds.
If we don't keep those standards wide, if we don't keep those standards stiff and hold those, and you said it once, we need to hold those developers accountable when they come in and they want to share the process of building that roadway, that accessibility of that development. We need to make sure that the standards that they build with are sustainable. The standards that they build with will not go 6, 8 years, but go 20, 25, and 30 years. We need concrete. We need them 24-foot wide. In some county areas, believe it or not, luxury. We've only got $12 million to deal with, and that's for all 4 of us. I'll meet you afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, it stays with you. We're going to go into lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning
I'm
round.
Not that fast, so slow.
We got a 30-second here. We're going to go ahead and what decision best defines responsible conservative leadership as a county judge?
Absolutely. Well, it's not his decision, but it's how we gain consensus on the court and get our peers to make sure that we only ask you for the dollar that we need. That's how we show integrity. That's how we show commitment to you, is that we never ask you for one more dime than we're going to spend for a budgeted item. That's, you know, somebody, I'm surprised we didn't get the question earlier. Where are you going to put the tax rate? Who can control that tax rate? I'll tell you right now, I'll get a chance to answer that for you. I want to tax you as much as the services cost that you allow us to provide. That's not me running rogue. That's me continuing to maintain roadways, continuing to maintain all of the services that we bring to you. And by the way, you didn't give me one, but I wish we had. But our behavioral health, our veteran service courts, we're doing a lot of things now that we weren't doing when I got here. Judge Wallace is in the crowd. He's done a phenomenal job redirecting resources to mental health patients. I don't want to call them patients. They're mental health folks that need another resource that we haven't provided in the past. So those are the kind of things that I'm going to do for you, is make sure that the court as a whole, I'm not out of time, make sure that as a whole that we only spend what we say we're going to spend, and that's it.
Best defines responsible conservative leadership as a county judge.
Yeah, so one thing that I think has kind of been missed by the role of our county judges in past, and that's because we are now at a growth point where things are going to have to change. At our next census, we will have to have a chief budget officer in place. We will have to have an emergency management coordinator in place. Those are requirements by the state. So the county judge really has to be the melting pot. The county judge has to work with all of the offices, all of the judges. Anyone who has a budget that has to be set, their needs need to be prioritized and spoken for, and not just to focus on the 4 commissioners. And that's going to get me in some trouble with those commissioners. They are the ones that vote, but the way to hold the commissioners court accountable and to hold the county judge accountable is providing that transparency on what the other officials need, what the offices need. And you can only do that if you are actively and proactively reaching out with them ahead of the budget time.
Thank you. Cameron, I'm not holding you to that 30 seconds. It's not going to hold you to it, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and go up here.
So as the county judge's office, with the population that Ellis County currently has, still serves as the chief budget officer for the county. And the county does currently have an emergency management coordinator who is employed by the county on staff at this time. But as the chief budget officer for the county, it is most important that you approach that budget line by line. And you have to have a leader who is willing to stand up and who is willing to say no when you have wasteful spending that is identified. And I think that one of the most important conservative things that you can do when you are considering a budget and spending within the county is that you cannot even begin to consider increasing property taxes in a year and providing multi-million-dollar tax abatements to new development that are coming into the county. I don't know about the rest of you, but if you checked your property taxes this past year, your property tax rate for the county increased. I can tell you that I proposed a decreased property tax rate last year, and the city commission unanimously voted to approve the property tax rate that I proposed as the mayor that reduced property taxes for the citizens who reside in the city of Ennis.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go into closing statements, and we will start with you, Mr. Cameron. You have 60 seconds.
Again, my name is Cameron Rayburn, and I would be absolutely honored to serve you as your next county judge. I'm uniquely qualified to serve as your next county judge. As a career civil engineer, I'm not a career politician. I am trained, experienced, and educated on how to be a complex problem solver. And as the county continues to grow, we are going to see more complex problems that are brought before us. I currently serve you at the regional level on the executive board of directors for the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and I'm now serving my 3rd term representing you at the regional level. And I am also a conservative Ellis County Republican, and I think that is the most important thing that you all need to consider when you decide who you want to serve as your next county judge.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm here because I felt a need. I felt the calling. what we have done over the past 5 years in the city of Waxahachie alongside Mayor Wallace. We have a couple more here as well. What we have accomplished to work with developers, not against them, but with them to ensure that we get the wins we need to grow in the right way, to grow correctly, to not allow urban sprawl to continue. I have that experience, and I'm the only one up here that does. Over my 5 years and 3 terms on the city council, I have made mistakes. I have learned the hard way on how development can go wrong and go wrong in a hurry. And I've also learned how important it
10
is
seconds.
to work with all departments, in this case, the offices, to ensure that our budget is as concise and applies the proper spending where it's needed most.
Lane Grayson, and it's been an honor to serve you. It's been an honor to be elected 3 times. Whether you think that kind of service is good or bad, let me tell you what it has brought. It's brought an incredible amount of experience and opportunities to see how we do at the county level. I'm a businessman. I'm a believer. Those are my principal functions. Spending conservatively, spending only what I have to spend, not what I want to spend, but what I can earn and have. Leading with a moral compass. I am honored to sit on your commissioner's court with other believers that have the same principles and the same values. We're all conservative. We don't want to overspend and overtax. We want to provide good services for you. Out of my time as your county commissioner in Precinct 2, I've learned a ton, and it's time for leadership to come in and bring a couple of things, and I want to share those with you. We could talk all day about changing infrastructure. We can talk all day about transportation. We can talk about other things, but let me tell you, behavioral health is an enemy to our community. And if we don't start addressing it more rapidly and with a stronger stance, like veterans courts or whatever we have to do, we are in a bad place when it comes to that. I'm prepared to do that. We have added those components to our county government. We are making headway. The growth is going to be here. We're going to have, no, you're not. Yeah. It's been an honor to serve you. I thank these gentlemen for taking an opportunity to take time away from their families to ask for your vote. We're going to do it fairly. We're going to do it with good manners. We're going to do it all the way to March the 3rd. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight.
So I'm not going to let you guys off the stage because I'm a veteran. And I am part of the Veterans Court. As a matter of fact, I think the undershirt that I'm wearing is Veterans Treatment Court shirt. So I want to publicly get your commitment to the Veterans Treatment Court. Yes or no? Will you support it, Mr. Grayson?
Unequivocally, yes, we have done that. And thank you for being a mentor, too. You failed to say that you're also a mentor to some of those guys. You appreciate it.
DV, as always, thank you for your time and for your service. But the answer is absolutely.
First of all, I would like to thank Judge Wallace for everything that he has done to bring the Veterans Court here to Ellis County. Thank you very much for that. And yes, I have spent time at the courthouse where the Veterans Court office is located at, meeting with those individuals who work with the Veterans Treatment Court. And it's an incredibly important function of our county government to provide those services to those who have served our country.
So yes?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause for these candidates. Continue the Ellis Talker Candidate Forum with the candidates for HD 10. Brian Harrison was unable to attend tonight due to scheduled conference. I have the 2 gentlemen that are running for that office, Mr. John Garrett and Mr. Matt Attier. How are you doing?
Doing really well.
Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to come and look forward to asking you guys some questions with my co-moderator, Miss Mayor Billy. I wanted to go ahead and start off with.
Moved here from Dallas after 12 months, which was 12 months too long, and for strong school systems, a variety of those systems. And my wife's been a part of that system for 16 years. We are proud to live in Ellis County. I wake up every day excited that I can work, sleep, eat, play all in the same place, and I don't have to drive anywhere to do it. And I just feel like we need representation that's willing to meet with people, to have town halls, to have forums, to be able to listen to residents that have issues. We're going to approach 250,000 people, and I think that role should be accessible. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit about role of government, and I'll address that. But I look forward to running to support you. I want to be able to support each of the people that were just up here in those roles of government. So I look forward to the questions. Thank you, DV.
Hello, everybody. John Garrett. Thanks for being here. Thanks, DV, for putting this on. Mayor Wallace. DV, it seems like the other day we were in the old dusty Texas Theater doing an interview. So, yeah, running for HD10, appreciate your support. I think we have a massive problem in our current representation, and I've been watching that for quite a while now. I've gotten calls for months from local leaders and folks down in Austin saying we haven't heard from our current representative. So I started digging into it, and I noticed that no legislation's getting passed, phone calls aren't being returned, and I think the fact that he's not here, not to hit the invisible pinata, but it says a lot. My background is in business. I moved to Waxahachie in 2004. I've raised my family here. I own multiple businesses, all of which serve our community. KBC Radio, Texas Theater, and I'm very proud of these. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to serve my community and raise my children here in our school system. We're at a really important time in Texas history and district history. We're growing so fast. Property tax, border security, schools, these are all things that need our attention, and we need representation that understands how to go to Austin and get things done.
Texans were told the power grid was fixed after past failures. What is the biggest remaining vulnerability you believe still exists?
Yeah, the biggest one, and I don't count me on the bill number, but HB 14 or 15 designated $350 million towards nuclear energy. The problem with that is that it's 4 to 5 years before construction starts, before they get all the places where they're going to build them. And all of that. And luckily, we had a pretty mild summer. We probably had a pretty mild winter so far compared to what we've had the last couple of years. And that's the risk that you run, is that when you have these massive events when it comes to energy, and the stats on wind, solar, natural gas are just way below where they're going to need to be, specifically in Ellis County. We talked about data centers with the previous two panels. I heard a stat that 1/3 or a quarter of the total energy in the state of Texas will be used up by the data center corridor, which primarily is Ellis County. And not to say those aren't options for tax revenue and all those sorts of things, but you have to be ahead of the curve. So 4 to 5 years before we see the benefit of nuclear energy is a problem. That is the way of the future. That's the way the legislature decided to go. The incumbent voted against that, and I would have voted for that, but you can't be 4 to 5 years behind the curve. And so I think that affects every one of us in here. It affects the places we shop, the places we live, the businesses that we operate. And so energy absolutely is going to be, hopefully not in a crisis situation, but we're going to need to address it very soon.
John, your question. Parents have expressed frustrations with education, outcomes, and curriculum decisions. What is one change the legislator should make when it comes to public education?
Well, I'm a big supporter of school choice. I think we did a great job in doing that, as well as putting the 10 Commandments back in our classrooms. If I could make one change, I think we need to go across the board and eliminate this woke doctrination, Sharia law. That stuff doesn't belong in our classrooms. I would enjoy fighting for those rights to keep that away from our children and to keep them safe.
What is the most pressing law enforcement issue affecting Texas, and what legislation do you propose?
Yeah, so I've talked to sheriff's office, police offices. I've talked to a lot of them. My dad was 35 years DPS, so proud of the work that he did for a long time, and watching him come in late at night after some long nights on the road. I think mental health, we saw it, we heard it from the previous two penalties. That's a massive issue facing the county. When you think about in the last 5 or 10 years, the stories that you see of officers having to encounter people that have mental health issues, and the way that we need to be able to invest in the way that they're trained. We need to make sure they have support to be able to do that. And that comes absolutely from the state. You know, the cities are involved with paying them, make sure their benefits are right. The state kind of sets the guardrails. And if mental health is something that obviously is impacting our county, we heard it tonight many times, then we need to make sure our law enforcement has the tools at ready, and not 4 to 5 years after the fact, or we're end up on the news story because an officer wasn't trained right. And so absolutely that's where the state comes in and say, let's provide training to make sure those officers know how to handle every victim that they encounter.
Texans here calls that taxes are going to be cut every session. Should Texas abolish property taxes? What will you do to lessen property tax burden for citizens?
Absolutely. We need to get rid of property tax. That's a big priority. And I'm with you. We hear it from politicians all the time. Here's how I'm going to do it. They campaign on it, and we just keep getting the same thing. Again, my background is in business, which means I understand numbers, I understand budgets, I understand how to overcome obstacles when it comes to those things. I'm a commercial property owner myself. I have commercial and residential properties, and I understand the implications of having a high property tax. You know, when I was younger and I got out of college, I rented a loft and it was $600 a month. When I started my first business here in Ellis County, well, to be honest, it was like a 1,000 square foot storage unit that I rented half of it to my parents, but nonetheless, it was $350 a month. And it was affordable. I could start a small business. I could live. I could buy my groceries. I don't know how people are doing that today. And I also believe that if you work hard your entire life and you buy your home and you've made your mortgage payments, you should not rent that home to the government. I think you should keep what you've earned, and we should eliminate property taxes.
You know what? We tend to alternate on these questions, but this is a big question when it comes to property taxes. So I would like for you to answer, and then Mayor Wallace go in on the question.
Yeah, and so this is where we talked about tax rates with the two previous panels, and that's their job, is to set your local tax rate. With the state, that's what you've got. You've got to figure out what kind of revenue that you need to run the state. And when you think about property taxes, I love that politicians get elected year after year with this magic wand of saying, I'm going to eliminate your property tax. Well, we've seen the governor come out with that, lieutenant governor, and certainly the incumbent talk about eliminating it. But we've had 5 years with no plan. I love a plan. Like, give me the numbers. I'm a CPA. I'm an accountant, finance background. I would love not to pay $8,000 to $9,000 a year in property tax. Until you show me where that bucket fills, or at least partially fills, I'm not sure how you do it. And so when you talk about property tax, and this is a little bit difference of folks that are no government versus limited government, when I think about property taxes, I think about police officers. I think about school system. I think about our judicial system. And when you think about no property tax, I think Senator Betancourt a couple weeks ago after Lieutenant Governor came out with his plan, said if you truly wanted to take it to a consumption tax, you're talking 8.25% versus 20+% on a sales tax. Is that what we want? I don't know. I don't want to be able to do it, but at least you would have the option to put the item back, right? So it's worth having a conversation. And so instead of a legislator, and we heard it Tuesday night, where you just come in here and say, I'm going to eliminate, we need to make sure that we're giving people a plan. Because when you eliminate schools, when you eliminate cities, when you eliminate police officers, what's going to happen to your city and your community? So absolutely we need a path forward. That's a $45 billion a year hole to fill, just the M&O portion of a school district's tax rate. And so where is that money going to come from? We got $28 billion of it sitting at the state in the coffers right now, so that could be a plan, but I need to see a plan. And so I'm not going to come up here and wave a magic wand at you. I would say I would work the very first day, if elected, to figure out how do we reduce your tax burden.
Thank you.
All right. And this one again is for you, Matt. Social issues have been a major part of legislative sessions. What is the most pressing social issue facing the state of Texas, and what would you like to see done?
Yeah, and this is where the state can play a massive role. And I answered the question on Tuesday night where you've got a lot of time being spent on transgender, DEI, boys and girls bathrooms, and I addressed that question absolutely I don't stand for that stuff. That's silly. Nobody wants that. The problem is that when you spend so much time on it, that none of those laws reduced my property tax bill. That's not what it did. And so it shouldn't take an entire session or two to pass a law on boys and girls bathroom. That should be passed on day one of the legislative cycle. That's a common sense, easy law to pass. And yet we've made these social issues something that we spend the entire 140, however many days are in a legislative session, dealing with those. If we spent the same amount of time getting around a table, getting the calculator out on how we reduce our tax bills, then life is better. And so I'm not saying that those are good things. Those are terrible things, and we should be focused on those. But we shouldn't spend 99% of the time on social issues when 99% of the time we need to focus on how we make life better.
Thank you.
What principle would cause you to vote against your own party position?
Why are you giving them the easy ones? Can you say it again?
Let's see. What principle would cause you to vote against your own party's position? Now, there has been talk about the incumbent and the way that it's voted, and there's been criticisms of that. So I'd like to see when that comes up where you have to vote against your party. Tell me what would bring you to that.
You know, from my work in Austin and being down there during the last session, I followed a lot of the bills that passed, and I agree with them. The only bill that was a no vote that I absolutely don't agree with, and it was the only no vote, is the flood relief bill that our state representative voted no on. I don't understand how you can vote no on a bill after children in Texas have died that goes to aid those families and create laws to ensure that that never happens again, and then go behind a news camera and tout that as some type of Republican win. I'm not sure how you could sleep at night. So if you're asking me where I would stand on that, it's with the families and the victims, not behind a news camera.
Okay. We got more time, so we're going to go ahead and move into the backup questions. Matt?
All right. What unintended consequence of recent legislation concerns you most?
Yeah, and that's a bit like when you think about, I think of unfunded mandates. And so I was hoping we would get a tax rate question so I could say the state doesn't set a tax rate, right? We get to dodge behind that bullet. We don't. But here's the way we do, and we impact every level of government below the state when you do unfunded mandates. There's hundreds, if not thousands of pages that we put to the county level, to the city level, to the school level when it comes to unfunded mandates. And that is a cost that that entity has to bear. Whether it's testing, whether it's indigent care at the jail for the county, those are costs that those entities have to bear without any offset from the state. And so the state gets to stand behind and just wave their hand, y'all figure it out, right? So absolutely, I think indigent care, I can't remember the stat I saw a year ago on how many millions that we spend on indigent care, but those are the unfunded mandates that worry me. And that is directly what a state representative should not ever push the burden onto a local taxing entity without some way to support them.
How should Texas respond when the federal government conflicts with state priorities? We saw that a lot in the last administration.
I guess a good current example of that are these sanctuary cities. If you look, predominantly in Texas, we're all for border security and getting the illegals out, which is a massive problem. But we need to eliminate the sanctuary cities. I would start there. I would focus on supporting President Donald Trump. We've done a great job of shutting down the border. Governor Abbott did a great job during Operation Lone Star, but we need to take it a step further in getting those illegals out and get all Texas communities on board to get those illegals out and then come up with a long-term plan to ensure this never happens again.
All right, we move into the lightning questions. And this will be for both of you. What Republican issue is most important to you?
Yeah, to me it's, and I know there's a post floating out there around what I said on the border, and where I was at 9 years ago when that was said was how much money that was going to cost. And we've seen what Donald Trump's been able to do in 12 months. When you enforce your law, things get better. 99% decrease in illegal immigration has happened since he took office. And I think when you enforce those laws, unfortunately, our state had to get involved when Biden wouldn't. And that cost us a lot of money. And we should ask for a refund for every penny of that. But I think immigration, it's the resources. I see it in our schools, our cities, our jails, the resources that we're having to spend on folks that aren't contributing to our economy, to our society. Our tax dollars are not supposed to go towards that. And so I think absolutely doing everything we can to make sure that those that are paying tax are the one receiving the services.
Okay, John?
I would agree. Border security. That's the biggest thing. And again, I agree with Matt. Extremely expensive. I know this because I was down on the border when the Haitians started coming across Del Rio. Governor Abbott asked us to go down there and set up the military infrastructure that housed our troops. And it was extremely expensive. And then we had to move to other locations along the Texas border. And in a way, we would just put out one fire and they would move to the next one. So I understand firsthand what the problem is on the border, how much it costs, and we needed to do it. That's the problem. It was under an emergency declaration. We didn't have the infrastructure and the planning in place to be able to handle that. And at the end of the day, it's the taxpayers that foot the bill, the $13 billion bill. So when I get in office, what I would like to do is go down there and create some policy and sit down with these Senate Border Security Committee members like I already have and craft some plans for the future. So if we don't have federal support in D.C., how can Texans protect the Texas border without spending $13 billion? A lot of ideas, and I could talk for an hour, but I'll be quiet.
No, there's a lot, and that's the thing with the forums, that they don't allow you to elaborate too much. But I got one last question before we do the closing statement. There has been concern with the spread of Sharia law with Epic City. There have been lawsuits against that. I know there are a lot of pressing issues in the state of Texas, but that is definitely one of them that is concerning, especially in the Republican Party. So I want both of you to address that.
Yeah, it's just pretty simple. And we heard some candidates on Tuesday night say the same thing. There's no place for that. We have our own law in this country. We have our laws in the state of Texas. And there's no way that we should certainly be using government funding to support those things. And I would stand by that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, hard no on Sharia law at any level in our state. It's unanimous. But most importantly, we got to keep it out of our schools. It's the adults. We can see it, and we realize, okay, that's not for me. I'm a good, Christian, conservative. Obviously, I'm not buying into Sharia law. But when you look at our school system and the way that's able to slide into some school systems that maybe aren't as right-leaning, then it gets pretty dangerous. So I think at every level, not just in our communities, but in our schools, we have got to eradicate Sharia law and make sure it doesn't make it in anywhere.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll start off with Matt, closing statements, 60 seconds.
Sure. First of all, thank y'all again. When you put your name in a hat for any race, for anybody that's ever run, for anybody that's running right now, you don't do it because you think it's going to be fun. You do it. In my case, I've been asked for 6 years to run for this exact spot. And it wasn't the right time for 5 years, and it's the perfect time right now. I have a heart for this community. I've proven that for 16 years since we've lived here. I will work my tail off for you. I do not desire the spotlight. This is uncomfortable sitting up in front of people with a microphone, but I will work as hard as anybody to make sure that your lives are better. Whether that's lowering taxes, whether that's making infrastructure better, whether that's making sure that when we raise our hand in the Capitol, that Ellis County is listened to. That is my biggest fear growing. When we get over 250,000 people in the next year or two, that is my biggest fear, that when we raise our hand in the state capitol, that we are not listened to. And I promise I will do everything I can to make sure that we are respected, listened to, and when we raise our hand, we get what we ask for.
Yeah, so again, thanks everybody for coming out, DV for putting it on. I could just look directly at the camera. This is a rare opportunity to get outside of social media, which we've both been dragged with misinformation on social media. I would encourage everybody to follow the truth, follow the facts. I'm not running because I need a job. I already have a job. I'm a stakeholder in this community, and I care about what's good for all of us. And I've spent my time lately meeting with all the leaders of the various communities, the city managers, the mayors, the first responders. I've followed all the no votes. I've followed all the legislation that hasn't been passed. I've watched a no vote on the flood relief bill. We don't just need new representation as a community. We need it as a state, and we need it badly. I'm not going to Austin as a new guy on the block. I'm going to Austin with a lot of experience and a lot of colleagues and folks that already respect me down there, whether it be border security or property taxes. I've already earned a seat at the table, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve you.
Appreciate you guys coming. Before you go, I want to thank the community for supporting me in this. I am so grateful. There were people who came and Blue Mint, who sponsored this event, K&H Construction. Without them and some generous donors, I would not have been able to put this together without getting in a chokehold from my wife. So I do appreciate that. Mayor Wallace, again, thank you so much for moderating this with me. I really do appreciate it, ma'am. You're always there for me, and I do appreciate that. Gentlemen, can we give a round of applause? Thank you so much, gentlemen. You have anything? Close out?
Yeah, just real quick, I want to thank every one of you that have come tonight and your families, the time that you've already given thus far, the time that you'll continue to give until this race is over. And I've been in your seat. I know how much work it is. I know how much strain and stress it is for you and your families. And I just applaud each and every one of you for your willingness to serve this county and to make a positive difference.